Hello and welcome to Our American States, a podcast from the National Conference of State Legislatures. I'm your host, Ed Smith. I'm podcasting again today from NCSL's Legislative Summit in Boston, where the organization is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Today I'm talking with Illinois Representative Marcus Evans Jr., the incoming president of NCSL, and Lonnie Edgar, Deputy Director for Mississippi's Joint Legislative Committee on Performance Evaluation and Expenditure Review and the incoming NCSL Staff Chair. They'll both assume their new positions on Wednesday at the NCSL Business Meeting. Tomorrow I'll sit down with two international visitors to get their perspective on the summit and why working with state lawmakers is important to their nations. You can also check out Monday's podcast from the summit, where I sat down with Utah Senator Wayne Harper, the current president of NCSL, and John Snyder of Kentucky, the current NCSL staff chair. Here's our discussion, starting with Representative Evans. Representative Evans, nice to have you on the podcast.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Let me start by asking you about your experience with NCSL and why you thought it would be important to get into a leadership position.
It's important to join any organization, any church, any group, and give it your all. If I'm going to be, in anything, I want to give them all. So I joined my legislative body in Illinois, and I'm giving them all. I'm assistant majority leader. I'm chairing a committee. I'm just involved in policy creation, helping folks. If I'm going to get NCSL, you might as well, reach for the top and look to connect people. So that's kind of what got me in NCSL leadership.
Bipartisanship is not in vogue at the moment, to put it mildly, I think. And I think that's a real challenge for organizations like NCSL. And I wonder if maybe you see it as an opportunity as well as a challenge, because with so few people out there really holding the bipartisanship banner, I wonder if you think that this is a way to try to find more common ground between Republicans and Democrats.
Those who look to sell or push divisiveness, that's their mission. They have a job to do. I think it's important for us to not succumb to their job, right? The opposition, the enemy, everyone has a mission, and I think the mission for a legislator is to connect to folks. Every legislator represents all types of folks. You don't know who's in your district. Democrats represent Republicans. You represent different people, ethnicities, orientations. So just focusing on what brings us together. And that's what we do at NCSL, right? I can think of 5 things, Ed, that me and you can argue about. I can think of 500 things that we agree on. So NCSL says, why don't we just focus on the 500 things, right? And this is what we do here. Massively divisive policies, we don't discuss them here at NCSL because there's no need. But can we talk about transportation? Can we talk about education funding? Can we talk about healthcare? Can we talk about military services, how we value our veterans? Can we talk about taxation and the proper structures to collect the dollars? You may not want to collect as much as my state, but still got to collect some. What's the proper amount to do that? I can go on and on, and there's so much that can bring us together. We focus on those things here.
One of the roles of NCSL is to advocate for states in Washington. Without getting into a whole bunch of discussion about what the situation is in Washington right now, I just wonder if you think a bipartisan organization is maybe in a good position to try to go to the federal government in whatever capacity that is, to talk to them about things that would benefit all states.
I think that first, I think the federal government, like any other human being, they want to be respected. We have a president and President Trump, we have administration. As long as we're communicating to them respectfully and focusing on the issues, I think we'll be received. And that's what we want to do because we're all one country. The more we focus on the things that bring us together, the better. We are a constituency of the federal government. We are citizens of the country. So we definitely should organize and communicate. Advocacy is important. I want to hear from my constituents. And we are constituents, so we should organize. Particularly, we're constituents with a particular type of expertise, right? We understand state government, or at the very least, we're familiar with it. So we should gather together and, communicate to our federal leaders that, hey, we see it a certain way, and hopefully they'll be receptive.
I wonder if you have a particular area you want to focus on during your presidency that you'll be taking over later this week at NCSL.
In this country, I think we definitely should be talking more about infrastructure and how we continue to improve the infrastructure of the United States of America. Better roads, repair our bridges, ensure that our drinking water pipes are replaced and free from lead. Something that can unify us, which is definitely infrastructure. Infrastructure creates jobs, infrastructure creates safety. There's so many things that infrastructure focuses on. So if I could just pick one topic, definitely infrastructure. Let's build more in America.
You're going to be talking to a lot of legislators in the next year, traveling around as the president of NCSL, and I wonder if there's a particular message you're going to want to share with them.
If you're a legislator, let's strengthen the legislative bodies of America, because we all got families somewhere. If you're a Republican, you got some family in Chicago, was deep blue, Democrat in New York and LA, right? We want every place to be a good place. We may not agree with the direction. Well, I got family members. I don't agree with everything that they're doing, but I still want the best for them. So any opportunity we can find the best for, because you can disagree, but still have some commonality. And let's celebrate those things because we don't need to hate. You can dislike, you can disagree. I think that's the process. And that's what we want to invoke here, that as long as we know we want to get to the same place, which is a good place for the citizens, you may have a better way, I may have a better way. Well, let's focus in on those commonalities. And I think that's what we're missing here, because those who stoke and fan the flames of divisiveness have a mission. They have to find something. But luckily with us, we don't have to look far. It's so many commonalities. If we just focus on those commonalities, we'll be fine.
Well, Representative, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and thank you so much for your service to NCSL.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it.
I'll be right back after this short break with Lonnie Edgar from Mississippi.
Looking for the latest in state policy, politics, and personalities? It's time to add state legislatures news to your regular digital rotation. Visit ncsl.org to find your go-to source for all the hottest topics, from policy and professional development to profiles and emerging issues. Stay informed and stay ahead with state legislatures news.
Lonnie, great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Ed.
So, Lonnie, you'll be taking over the staff chair position this week, and I wonder if you could talk about why you first got involved in NCSL and why you wanted to work in this leadership position.
I first got involved back with NCSL in 2009 regarding some health focus areas. And so I was very interested in the organization to see how it could strengthen our office, strengthen the information that we provide to the legislature as a whole, and just really network and connect with many of my colleagues across the country.
So you're an analyst, the director of a group of evaluators, and I wonder how you'll bring that skill to this role.
One of the things I would really like to focus on during my term as staff chair is really taking my abilities as an analyst and seeing how to really reach out and engage the broadest number of staff possible and really efficiently utilize the resources and the networking connections that I've established through both NCSL and many of my other colleagues across the country.
So, Lonnie, we're here discussing the 50th anniversary of NCSL at this summit in Boston, and staff growth was considerable in the 70s, 80s, 90s, but it kind of plateaued by the time we got to the 2000s. And the issues are not getting any simpler. I wonder if you think that legislatures have the resources that they need in terms of staff to do some of these very complex jobs that they're asked to do.
I definitely think that it's important to keep staff engaged and to keep staff active as far as serving their legislatures in each of their states. It has been a little bit of a challenge as the years have ebbed and flowed in terms of the resources available. I think state legislatures in each respective state has their own unique challenges, and I think each state does the best they can to keep staff engaged, involved, and supported, and to keep the job of the legislature serving the people as a whole going forward. There's definitely been some moments where I feel like we could use a little extra support in some areas, But I think that legislatures in its entirety have done a really good job trying to leverage the resources that are available, because it's all about efficient and effective use of state dollars, especially for my office in Mississippi.
Now, Lonnie, I know you've been a runner and an athlete. As a former obsessive marathon runner, let me ask you, do you take any lessons from sports when you go around the country and you talk with your colleagues around the country? Is there anything you take from sports that helps you talk to them about how they do their jobs and how they approach it?
I'm really excited you asked me that question, Ed. Fitness was something that I got into much later in life. Running has really become something that I just enjoy doing. I kind of tell people and laugh all the time that all you have to do is have a good pair of shoes and you can just take off and go. But as I've trained for endurance runs and things over the last few years, I really resonate with that as far as how it transfers over to the legislative environment, because oftentimes things are moving quickly, things change rapidly, but really, especially on the legislative staff side of things, you really are focusing on that endurance. You are focusing on keeping that legislative institutional knowledge going, throughout the different terms, throughout the different administrations and things of that nature. So it really is kind of like being in that marathon. It's all about pacing yourself, taking advantage, making sure you have the things you need to finish the race, making sure you have the information you need to serve the legislators, providing them with the best tools possible, and providing yourself with the most resources possible, which is one of the things I really value most about NCSL, is how it really sets up both legislators and staff to be successful over the long term.
So you've been involved with NCSL for a long time, and I wonder if there are specific things you want to focus on in this next year.
What I would really like to focus on over my next year as staff chair is really about revitalizing just the energy and the excitement and how to propel the current buzz about celebrating NCSL's 50th year and celebrating its success, but making sure you keep an eye towards the future on how to promulgate that success and just keep that energy and level of excitement moving forward with staff. There's a lot of opportunities to better train staff, better network with staff, include a lot of leadership level staff and things of that nature. Some populations who may not have been as actively engaged with NCSL in the past, I would really like to make a focus to kind of bring everybody to the table. For example, at the Boston Summit, people were asking me what I was most excited about, and all I could say was I get to see almost 9,000 of my closest friends. I very much view the summit as kind of a big legislative staff family reunion, and a lot of the connections and the information you learn at these meetings are just invaluable, and how to share that information and share that wealth with others is really what I want to focus on.
Well, Lonnie, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and thank you for taking the role of staff chair. Take care.
Thank you so much for having me, Ed, and I look forward to seeing all of y'all at the summit and in future meetings ahead.
I've been talking with Illinois Representative Marcus Evans Jr. and Lonnie Edgar of Mississippi about their new leadership roles at NCSL and NCSL's 50th anniversary. Thanks for listening. You can check out all the podcasts from the National Conference of State Legislatures by searching for NCSL Podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast, Our American States, dives into some of the most challenging public policy issues facing legislators. On Across the Aisle, host Kelly Griffin tells stories of bipartisanship. Also, check out our special series, Building Democracy, on the history of legislatures.